Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Life Balance Radio. And I am super excited to be doing this. This is a project I've been wanting to do for a long time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Facebook Live that I did that was kind of announcing this, which gives kind of a little bit of the backstory about why I'm doing this. And that will be kind of the initial launch is why am I doing it? And then we'll be building from there into different life balance topics, and I hope that it's something that you really enjoy. So here we go. So the big question is this: how are successful professionals like us going to find life balance with all of the pressures, distractions, and obligations constantly trying to pull us in different directions? And how can we have the success we want and yet still have a full, balanced, and vibrant life that we absolutely love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Dan Gentry, and welcome to Life Balance Radio. Good afternoon, everybody. I am getting ready to launch a new podcast. And if you've followed me at all, talked to me at all, you know that I'm very passionate about life balance. And while I do have a podcast, Third Power Life, that I've enjoyed doing quite a bit, I wanted to do something that's more specific to life balance. And I wanted to share a little bit of why, and share my story about why life balance is so important to me. Okay, and this is gonna take you back many years. Okay, I was in the corporate world, working like crazy, and doing absolutely crazy hours. 60, 70, 80, 100. I once did a 140-hour week, which is really hard to do, and I really would not suggest that you do that. Okay, and I was very successful. I was making a lot of money. This is during the dot-com boom. I was the director of internet technologies. I was important, right? And this is back when BlackBerries were a new thing. Some of you may be old enough to remember that. But before then, if you wanted to check your email in the middle of the night, you had to turn on your computer, log in, that whole bit. Well, now email was available, right here, right? Which was a whole new thing. And it created this entire kind of culture of now. And it became, I could send my boss an email at 3 a.m. and I'd get an answer at 3:05. I mean, it was essentially being on call all the time, which, it's so funny that, society kind of has that concept that, in order to be successful, you have to work absolutely crazy hours. And, that's what it takes, right, to be successful. And so I was working like crazy, but the reality was I was spending all of my time working and not much time with my family, with the rest of my life. And I remember vividly kind of the day I had the realization of that there was something wrong. Okay, I had flown out to Denver, Colorado. I flew out there a couple of times a month, and I wasn't there enough to have my own office, so they put me up in this other VP's office, little desk right up against the windows, and on the 11th floor in downtown Denver. And I open up my laptop, I'm going to town, checking all the emails that had come in, the 300 to 400 emails that weren't worth waking up at 4 a.m. for, right? I'm going along there for about half an hour, and I realized, I need a cup of coffee. I just, my body's going, hey, come on, we need some caffeine. And I left to go get a cup of coffee, and this was before Keurig was really common. They had the single cup coffee maker, which was just amazing, right? They had this French roast that I can still smell it. It was just really good. Anyway, so I got my cup of coffee. I walk back in to this office where I am, and I stopped dead in my tracks, right? I don't know if you've ever been to Denver, Colorado. I don't know if you've ever seen the Rocky Mountains, but wall-to-wall windows in this room, crystal clear blue sky, snow-capped Rocky Mountains, just an absolute picture postcard of God's beauty on earth. And I hadn't seen it. I was sitting in front of the windows and I hadn't seen this absolutely gorgeous vista. And I remember, my reaction was, uh-oh, oh, beep, right? And I remember I closed my laptop, I sat back, and I drank that cup of coffee and contemplated my life, which was something I hadn't done enough of, apparently. Because I realized that, while I was making really good money and I was successful, people knew who I was, right? I was missing out on all the important stuff of life, right? My physical body was going to hell, right? I mean, I used to have hair, okay? The stress of that job was killing me, literally and figuratively. So my body was going to pot. My spiritual life was non-existent. My family was falling apart. I wasn't communicating with my spouse at the time. I would leave before my daughter woke up in the morning and maybe would get home in time to put her to bed. I hadn't called my mom in months. I mean, just you go right down the line. Everything that was important in life was falling apart. But I was making really good money. Yay! It hit me that you've got to make a change. Your life is so far out of balance. Yes, you're providing for your family, which I wanted to provide for my family. I wanted them to have what I didn't have as a kid, and to give them everything. And yet, the one thing that they really wanted, my time and energy, I wasn't giving. That I was giving all to the corporation, to the job, right? And it was sucking me dry. I had no energy left over for anything else. Well, I realized that I've got to make a change. I've got to find a way out of this situation that I had put myself in. Okay. And so I started the search for life balance. Sort of. I knew it was something I needed to do, but I was going to get around to it. Well, the universe has an interesting way of making you do stuff. Because in a 3-month period from the end of 2001 through the beginning of 2002, essentially week before Thanksgiving, I move out and long, ugly, drawn-out divorce begins. In January, I was laid off. I wasn't important anymore. And then in February, my father passed. So just boom, 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 right? I remember I had a friend that called me and said, Dan, are you doing okay? If somebody's going through a divorce, you worry about them. If somebody gets laid off, you worry about them. If somebody's parent dies, you worry about them. And you're doing all three at the same time. I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I can laugh about it now. At the time, I was not laughing very much. I did try to use humor as kind of a coping mechanism. I said that God will never test us beyond our capacity. I just wish he didn't trust me so much. But, my entire world was just shattered. It was just absolutely shattered. And yeah, I had to put it back together. I had to pick up all the pieces and put it back together. And, the epiphany of that life balance that I had in Denver, it was on top of my mind, because I realized that I had a role to play in all of these different, things that had happened, right? That had I had better life balance, I could have either reduced the amount of damage, or been in a much better mental state to be able to handle it. So that's where I started my journey towards finding a way to have life balance. And through meditation, through lots of trial and error and study, and looking at different people's work, Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn, and all of the stuff that I had accumulated over the decades of my life, and reading books and listening to podcasts and videos and all of that, trying to come up with a system for how to have life balance. And through that, through my meditation, it actually came to me the concept of the life triad, which I'll get to in later videos. But it's a way to think about your life, and a way to create life balance and create an amazing life. And I realized that I had made mistakes in the way that I had dealt with my life, in the way that I had interacted with my kids, and I wanted to make sure that that didn't happen for anybody else. I like to say that my personal mission statement is to make the song Cats in the Cradle not a song about anybody, just a song. And if you're not familiar with it at all, it's a song about a man who has a boy, has a child, but because he's working, he's never there for the child, right? And as he grows, the kid's saying, "I'm going to be like my dad," right? Which our kids do. They want to be like us. But his dad didn't have time for him. He loved him, but just, sorry, I've got there are planes to catch and bills to pay, right? And then when he gets to the end of his life, the man has retired now, and he wants to spend time with his son, calls him up, but his son doesn't have time for him, right? The new job's a hassle, and the kid's got the flu, but it's sure nice talking to you. And as he hung up the phone, it occurred to him, his son had grown up just like him. He had continued that pattern of overwork and not spending the time on what was really important. And I've done that. I've been on both sides of that song. I've been the little boy wishing my dad would come home so we could play. And I've been the father that worked too much and wasn't there. And I want to make sure that that doesn't happen to anybody. And that's why I share what I'm sharing with this podcast, what I'm sharing with the programs I do. Why I do what I do is because I want you to learn from my mistakes. I don't want you to have to repeat my mistakes. And that's why I do what I do. So in this podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you the ways that I have created life balance, the ways that I have helped other people create life balance. And it's not magic, and it's not fluffy. It's not soft and squishy. I mean, there's some soft and squishy stuff in there too, but it's real. I had somebody that I really respect come up to me, I guess a year or two ago, and go, Dan, as professionals, we kind of realize that life balance isn't really possible, but it's a good idea. And I remember thinking, no, it is absolutely possible. Just like good health is possible, right? It takes some work. You got to, have good health, you need to eat right, you need to exercise, you need to, stretch, all of those things. Life balance is the exact same way. You can absolutely have life balance, but there are things that you need to do that, prioritize and make sure that you're aware of all the different pieces of life and that you're taking care of them. It doesn't mean that everything's the same. It doesn't mean that they're all equal, but it means that there's a harmony in your life and that you're taking care of every area of your life. For me, in my system, I have 9 areas of life balance, but find a system that works for you. But it's about being intentional with every area of life. It's about being conscious and living consciously and living in the moment and really realizing what's important and why do you do what you do. And if there's something that's not working, to be aware of it. That's what it's about. Okay? So again, I'm launching this new podcast. I'm very, very excited about it. It's been something that I've been wanting to do forever. I really want to bring work-life balance, life balance to everybody. That's why I'm here. So if you have any questions, please comment, send me an email, info@thirdpowerperformance. You can connect to me on Facebook and Instagram at Third Power Performance. Look on Twitter. I'm on Twitter as well. All the different social medias, the interwebs, right? But connect. I would love to hear your stories. I would love to hear the challenges that you're having, and see how we can help, how we can work together to overcome those. Okay. So again, I'm looking forward to sharing my heart and soul and all of the things that I've learned over my decades of study and practice and teaching and the experience that I have. And I want you to make the most of that. So until next time, make sure you're living your life to the third power. Thank you for listening to my podcast. But before you go, would you like to have somebody help you create more balance in your life? Do you have difficulties juggling all of the different things that are pulling on us for our time, for our attention? I have a program that I have just created called the Life Balance Academy. It's a 6-week program, full life balance training, everything that I've been teaching over the past 20 years, consolidated into one 6-week program. This is something that's brand new, and I'm very excited to share with you. If you would like more information about that, you can go to my website at www.thirdpowerperformance.com. And until then, live your life to the third power.